So the millionaires farmers protest is set to continue. As Reuters reports, hundreds of tractors blocked streets in central London on Wednesday, the latest protest by farmers against the government after it ended an exemption from inheritance tax for agricultural families. The measure, dubbed the tractor tax by critics, was introduced by the government to boost funds to pay for strained public services, but farmers say it will destroy family farms and reduce food production. Farmers lined their tractors up close to the Houses of Parliament on Wednesday, hoping to convince the government to change course or face escalating protests. The protests in London and the southeast led to this moment, posted in a video on X from Josiah Mortimer, which drew criticism of the protests from online.
Can't get through because of the tractors. The ambulance is trying to get through here. Got its blue lights on. Still the ambulance behind there. So, yeah, and these tractors are blocking the whole of the left lane, obviously. Now they're moving because the green light's gone, but still quite a backlog there. Bit of a jam. Oh, still trying to get through. No, big tractors in the way. There we go. That's the other side of the road. Okay. Oh no, there's more tractors down that direction where it's going.
Yeah. So, I think there's an interesting discussion to be had here. But I do want to caveat it by saying that the Just Stop Oil protesters and what was the other group that did the protest, Extinction Rebellion, also had what's known as a blue lights policy. The blue lights policy is if you see blue lights, you move the blockage from the road. And that's a lot easier to do when you've got people rather than a big vehicle, right? So what do we think of this in terms of hypocrisy, in terms of millionaires, and what's going on here?
Well, so first of all, let's talk about the hypocrisy of it, and let's look at the defenders. Obviously, this is massively hypocritical. And you're right to point out that when you're doing a demonstration of people, it's far easier to move out of the way. And as you just pointed out, which most people don't understand, most people don't realise, is that they have a policy which is to get the fuck out of the way when an ambulance comes. I think that's fair enough. I think that's basic solidarity. I think every protest should say, move out of the way if an ambulance comes. These big, massive tractors can't do that. And what you're seeing here is all the accusations that were levelled against environmentalists and Just Stop Oil is the same that could be said about these farmers. Now, here's the thing. One, to me, is important, and one isn't that important. And I will say this. I support everyone's right to protest. I support the farmers striking. I absolutely support that, because I'm not, I'm not a hack or partisan hack where I'm like, oh, I only support when it's my own cause. Now, I completely predicted the response to this, because the response has been to defend the tractors, and they've given their excuses. Some people have been saying, well, they had a permit, whereas many Just Stop Oil people didn't. All right, I'll come on to that in a second. But I entirely predicted that once these farmers go out and strike, right, or landowners, and people start saying, well, you're disrupting people's lives, I said those that support them won't then say, you're right, that's a fair point, however, this issue is important. They will defend it and just bat away the accusations, which is exactly what's happened. Because I said, look, for people, particularly on the right, they're like, I think we should protest because I agree with it, but those that I don't agree with shouldn't protest. Well, here's me, as a socialist, as a lefty, saying, I support your right to protest. But one is important and one isn't important. I suppose it's very hard to have this kind of argument and discussion with people if they don't really believe that climate change is either real, a big deal, or man-made. Because I was going to say, well, those that demonstrate, like Just Stop Oil type people, they're doing it for a real cause, which is to save this fucking planet. Now, objectively, that is true. And then protesting with tractors because you're unhappy that those who have a farm worth than £1 million or more have to pay a 50% reduction rates in inheritance tax, basically an end to a tax break. I don't think these two are in any way comparable. But again, if you're speaking to someone who thinks that climate change isn't even an issue, then that's hard to convey. But even still, I can say that Just Stop Oil, what they're doing, I completely support because it's a real issue. Landowners, wealthy landowners who are striking because they don't want to pay the taxes they should be paying, I think is wrong. They should be paying it, but I still support the right to strike. And, right-wing pundits, whatever, have that contradiction because they're not principled. They're just like, well, this is my view. I like these people. I support it. I can say I don't like a lot of these people doing it. A lot of them are wealthy people who, someone like Jeremy Clarkson, by the way, literally bought farmland just so he could get out of paying taxes. I don't like that. I don't think it's very patriotic as well. Like you don't want to give some of your money to the NHS. But I still support their right to strike. I'm consistent.
Yeah. I think it's always worth emphasizing, which I did on the original segment I did on these protests, that you'd have to own 100 acres worth of 100 football pitches worth of farmland. That's equating to 200 or 300 acres. I think it was 200 acres in order to be affected by this, right? 100 football pitches worth of farmland. And you're going to come to me saying that you're pleading poverty as a millionaire, rocking up in your in your Range Rover. I don't think so. Mate. I think we've got to take this seriously and say, no, if you're a millionaire, if you've got £1 million worth of assets, I'm sorry, you have to pay your taxes. And you're paying it at half the rate which everybody else is, anybody, and only if you don't gift it to your child before you pass away. Like, there's so many things that I wanted to draw attention to a couple of comments. Vicky very much agrees with you. There's I don't mind their protested. It's the hypocrisy.
Well, I think all of us should support their right to strike, though. So I to me, that's kind of non-negotiable, right? Because I don't want to be the people that I only support those that I agree with should go out and protest. No, like, to me, that's a fundamental. I will say, I say it's a human right, actually. I think it's part of democracy. You don't live in a democracy if people aren't allowed to organize and protest. So, like, if someone says, oh, I don't think they should do it because I disagree with them, I'll be like, I don't like that from you. You should be. It's not just about consistency. It's about principles. Like, I don't want to live in a totalitarian government, and that means if someone wants to go out and make a massive protest about supporting Brexit, do it. Good for you. Good.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yes, and it's actually, like, in a strange way, supporting them protesting does actually uphold our right to protest if they are also defending the right to protest. The problem is when they go on media, they're not defending the right to protest. They're defending their right to protest.
That's why the right, who say they care about freedom, once again, it's pure projection. They don't give a shit about freedom. It's only, I would say again, mostly the left that care about freedom, because these people aren't, like, when Just Stop Oil or anti-austerity protests happen, the main argument you hear in the media is that we should have a right to protest. It's good for democracy. It's about freedom. That's typically the argument you hear. And then obviously they go into the specifics. I've not heard a single person say, well, everyone should have the right to protest. It's not. It's usually just about the specifics, which is fine. Speak about the specifics, which is, ending a tax cut. But why I'm not hearing people and voices in the media saying, I support whether you're a lefty, whatever, everyone should have that right. And you don't hear that. Not enough, anyway. I've not heard of it.
I agree. No, I agree. Not enough people have said it. Like, even on kind of more left-leaning media, like even look at Novara Media, like, not enough people have said, like, outright, okay, we need to be supporting their right to protest, even if we don't agree with what they've got to say. Jim Speak gifted 10 Turn Left memberships. Really appreciate that, Jim. You are an absolute star. See you all here all the time. Good stuff. I just want to draw attention, though, to this comment because I thought it was quite funny. Michael pointed out that the tractors were all bloody sparkling. They're probably not being used for farming. There was an anecdote, I think it might have been Channel 4 or something, where interviewing people getting on the train to London, and they were like, oh, well, how's the farmers' protests like? How do you feel about the farmers' protests? And this guy said, well, yeah, I was quite supportive of the farmers' protests, and I saw a load of them in their tweed jackets and flat caps getting on the train. But as I got into second class, I realised that they'd all climbed into first class. It's like, I wonder why.
Yeah.
And also this one is, I think, very prescient. Actually, talking on Zoom is more dangerous.
No, I feel like that seems like an admission from your end, doesn't it?
No, it's a reference to. I thought that for a second, but it's a reference to the people who are arrested for doing the Zoom call blocking the road.
Oh, sorry. How did I
Yeah,
miss
yeah,
that one?
yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. I mean, when are the arrests going to happen? Because people, in first class were saying, "Oh, we're going to drive our tractors here." No, of course
yeah.
that wasn't going to
5
happen as
years was
well.
it? One of them got 5 years
Was
for.
5. No, it was 5 years, but that was one of them got 5 years, but like
Yeah,
the combined total was like 20 years because like a handful of them, wasn't it?
absurd. Yeah.
Absolutely absurd. Like jail for fucking protesting. No, sorry, for planning a protest on Zoom.
Yeah, insane.
Insane.
Wild. And you've got as Curious Girl Emma says, like you've got ambulances actively being blocked, like people's lives actually really being put at risk, and or and or potentially, we don't know, somebody could have lost their life there, and still the punishment doesn't really match doesn't even come close to that. Which people got for planning a protest, not even carrying out a protest, but planning a protest.
Support independent media. Support social justice that's there on social media. Thank you. Turn left.